Nothing makes me more verbally constipated than an interview. And public speaking, of course. Yeah, so I had my first interview yesterday. Not my first interview ever. My first interview since finding myself in this unemployment situation. And it went pretty good. Actually, it went really, really well. The people were so lovely, and the job sounds really fun, but man, it sucks because it's not a great salary, and it's not in a location that I was really wanting. So that's always really hard when you have such a great interview and the people are so amazing and just so wonderful to talk to. It's so incredibly rare that I walk out of an interview feeling that way. Like, that was so nice. I think mentally that makes you want to gravitate towards something just because, like, and they had a lot of, like, jokey interbanter together. So it's like, you feel like it would be such a lovely place to work just because everyone seems to get along so well. The thing that sucks about it is the salary range is $17 to like $21 an hour, which translates to what, 36K to 43 or something like that. And if you guys remember when I was thinking about leaving the nuclear plant and like stressing about giving up that income and going right back to 36,000 that I was making before and struggling to get by, it's like, here's another job facing that exact same salary. And while I used that time at the nuclear plant to like plow through a bunch of consumer debt and car loan and like just drastically reduce my monthly payments, and I've so intently lived below my means since then that I have been able to save quite a good bit, and that's been so wonderful and comforting. But just the thought of having to go back to 36,000 a year, or even with my education and background and experience, I would likely be on the higher end of that salary. So let's just say like 40. That's just not a livable wage around here for anyone, unless you, like, I realize I'm over doomsdaying that, but I feel like that's only feasible if you have a bunch of roommates or live at home with your parents still and are paying either nothing or next to nothing to live. Like, for a single income household, 40K just doesn't cut it in this country unless okay, it does. I know it does, but not here, not where this job is located, like not in anywhere of the lower third of this whole state is that a livable wage, because the job is more north from where I am currently, which is great. That's the way I'm wanting to go. But I want it to be like a few hours north, not just 45 minutes, and still in the like touristy, much more populated portion of the state where rent prices are still high. 40K a year could work a few hours north. It just could not work. Or, again, I know I could make it work, but I don't want to go back to just making ends meet all the damn time. Like, that was... No. No. I can't. I just don't want to go put myself back in that situation again. So my gut instinct before the interview was, I don't really think this could be great, but I want to give the interview the chance and meet the people and see a bit more about the job specifically and how would these people feel to work with. And it was all positive. But like, no. That sucks. That salary sucks. And it's also just the first interview. It was one of the first jobs I applied to right after I got furloughed. So it's like, if I am wanting to use this unemployment situation for like a life pivot or whatever to go after something that's way more aligned with me, that's like really calling to my heart lately, this would not be the job that aligns me to that situation. And so I don't want to just jump on it because it's the first job that's offered to me. If they even do, I don't know. I'm just like trying to mentally go down all of these possible avenues of outcomes here from this whole situation. Not even just this one interview, but man, it just is overall, I think this is my first experience with unemployment, and it feels so horrifying and so amazing at the same time. And it feels really weird saying that, but it is. I'm finding my mind space going back and forth, and like the job panic, the panic of not having a job, the panic of waking up on a weekday and not have to log into a computer or go somewhere, and no, I don't. But it's just so hard to get that out of your head, and I realize that's not what I'm not supposed to be trying to get that out of my head while I'm on unemployment, but it's also not really healthy for me to just operate in that panic mode all the time, because it is wearing me down and it's like bumming me out, and it's affecting me on a physical level. Like, I'm just feeling myself slipping into a blah mood most of the time, not always, but I'm like sleeping more, and it's like I'm not really feeling very inspired to eat very much, which is really weird for me, and it's just kind of an overall down and out feeling. But I think that's natural in this situation. But also in those moments where I'm just chilling at home, like cleaning and doing laundry and dishes and decluttering. I've done a really deep clutter, and it's been so amazing. I love just being at home and homemaking and cooking and just chilling the F out. And I'm catching myself saying, oh my God, this is so amazing. And when I'm able to just go on a walk in the middle of the day when it's warm and sunny out, and oh my God, and plus we've been having a bit of a false spring lately, so it's been really inspiring me to get outside, which always infinitely lifts my mental space. And so many moments I'm like, oh my God, this is so lovely, life is so wonderful, and I immediately squash those instant feelings with, ew, you're not supposed to feel that way. You're supposed to be feeling like crap because you're on unemployment, and you're supposed to be like spending your weekday 9 to 5 hours that whole time job hunting, and it's just like, it's been the weirdest. I don't know. It just feels yucky. Last year, so for 2023, I had a personal goal of wanting to read more, and I just couldn't make it happen. I kept trying to force myself to read books, and I'd get a few chapters in or halfway through and just completely give up on them, and like, why don't I feel like reading? I really love reading. And then over Christmas, when I went down to see my parents, I like picked up this book again, which I bought. Oh my gosh, I've had this book for at least a decade now, and I lent it to my brother, and he had it for a few years, and I just saw it in his house this past summer. It still has the little note that I wrote for him. So I was like, I'm going to steal this back now. And I reread it, and I devoured it within a few days. It's so good. I cannot recommend this book enough. It's Animal Vegetable Miracle by Barbara Kingsolver. If you have any inkling towards like growing your own food and like taking your nutritional power back, eating locally, anything like that, this book is so interesting. But oh my God, it got me thinking, like, I love reading. Why have I not been doing this? And I'm realizing it's because I was trying to cram productivity books down my throat. Half of my bookshelf is productivity books, and I'm just realizing I'm not in that phase anymore. Or right now. I don't even know. Is it an anymore or right now? Maybe I'm just in an anti-productivity phase, but I don't know. I hope this phase lasts forever, because I just I don't know. I think it's just the hustle and grind and like the productivity culture that's been ingrained in us to want to try hard and do good and climb corporate ladders and all those things. And I'm not saying that those things are bad. And the world needs those kind of people, certainly, or we'd probably all fall apart. But I personally am just not there anymore. I've operated in that space, I think, my whole life. And I've always prided myself on work ethic and having a good work ethic. And it would annoy the shit out of me when I worked with people that had subpar work ethic to my ridiculous standard, which I don't know if it's ridiculous or not. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. It's just that the fact that I would judge people about work ethic, and only very recently have I taken into account the fact that maybe they were just doing something they didn't give a shit about. And they're not like you and didn't like just suck it up and make it through. And I used to have such a chip on my shoulder, like so proud of my work ethic, like despite all the shitty jobs. Whether it was scrubbing toilets and cleaning up beer cans and scraping condoms off the shower curtains at the local party motel, which was disgusting. Or working at the nuclear plant, like, and everything in between. Why have I always just been forcing myself to love a job? It's just, or not even love it, just tolerate it. I just am so not in that headspace anymore. I don't know. I just want to do things for me. Which is, I can't even say it out loud without, because it's like, I feel like there's two camps here. You're either hearing me say these things and maybe getting the impression, like, I just don't want to work anymore. No, I just want to do work. That means something to me. And you're either on board with that, and you're like, oh my God, I totally get that. Or you're like completely disgusted and like, oh my God, you're another one of those lazy people. And I don't know. Obviously, anyone can fall anywhere on the spectrum of work-life balance and what feels right for you. And I've just always been in the work end of the spectrum. And now I'm just like hardcore wanting to be in the life end of the spectrum. And I think that time at the nuclear plant was so incredibly eye-opening on so many levels, like financially, consumeristically, just what I do and do not want from my life going forward. And one of them is like absolute mental devastation from a W-2 job is just not something I'm willing to sacrifice or to put myself through anymore. I don't know how we got here from the job interview I just had, but that's just where my head has been spiraling this last few weeks on unemployment and just trying to mentally navigate the waters of being mindful of the absolute work grind culture that's been ingrained into us versus like what I actually want and how to feel okay about that without feeling like a piece of shit. And man, there's clearly I have a lot of time on my hands. I don't know. But even reading, like, so I ended that book and I was like, what's the next book I want to read? So I've been digging out all of my homesteading and gardening and greenhouse books. And even this guy, I've had this book on my damn shelf for probably 7-8 years and I've never even cracked it open. So now I'm like, this seems lovely. And it's just a book on herbal medicine. So every night, I'm just, to wind down before bed, I just read about 2, 3, 4 different herbs just to learning as I go here. I'm trying to, like I said, use this time for a life pivot, but use it constructively. And if there's a certain lifestyle I'm wanting to go towards, which is a simpler life, like homesteading, growing my own food, taking that power back into my own hands, keeping more money in my pocket and less out of the grocery stores, and just like all of those kinds of things, then I might as well be learning about that kind of stuff in the interim, right? So I'm just going back through, spring is coming. It's the perfect time to be reading about all of the beautiful herbs and things that are going to be coming back to life here in the next couple of months. That's why I'm growing veggies on my windowsill, which is like, oh my gosh, I have to show you guys. I know it's a funny angle, but we're working with what we got. But this keeps expanding and changing because I like things to tinker on. So I've been tinkering on my windowsill gardens, and it's still pretty early in the morning, so the sun isn't on them yet, but these are all of my south-facing windows in the living room. So wow, things are popping up over here. As you can see, like, the zucchinis are doing great. We have radishes and kale and tomatoes and so many herbs. Oh man, I like, these are spring onions coming up, and there's spinach in here. There's spinach and chives, oregano, thyme, and rosemary. Just a couple of seeds of each, and then I'll probably thin as the zucchini gets bigger. I don't know. I'm just experimenting. But over here is like cilantro's finally coming up. I've got a few basils. These are gonna get repotted. I'm gonna do one of these tomatoes. They're both cherry tomatoes. I'm gonna do one hanging upside down. So this is all the veggies. As you can see, things are growing. It's pretty exciting. So many little baby lettuces that just popped up this morning. I just planted them 3 days ago, which is so crazy. I have so many little herbs coming up. That's thyme. There is, if you can see it, oh my gosh, that is a purple, not gonna focus, purple, dark red, little teeny tiny basil seedling that popped up right there this morning. And then this is oregano. They are so tiny. And a rosemary is pushing up some soil here this morning. And then these are radishes and kale and zucchini number 1 with more radishes and kale. And the onions have popped up. Those are just spring onions or bunching onions. And then the other zucchini with some very sparsely seeded more herbs, like a second succession of herbs, I guess you could say. And then there's another row of herbs here to go behind the salad greens, since they're a little bit taller, so they'll get more sun in the back. So these are just my south-facing windows, but these are also little basils. These are going to get repotted with one of these tomatoes. These are both cherry tomatoes. I'm going to hang one upside down here in the window and then plant basils on top of it. But yeah, these are making me so happy. It is a little bit of experimentation when you're growing things inside or in containers. So I don't know if all this is going to grow well enough to produce any kind of food. I don't know. At least like the herbs and the salad greens, I feel very good about. As far as the zucchini, tomato, spinach, kale, I don't know. I'm just experimenting. I have plenty of gardening experience, but I just don't have that kind of space here in this apartment to plant a garden outside. So plus it's the middle of winter. All I'm really trying to accomplish here is to not have to keep going to the grocery store week after week and buying the same things, which for me is tomatoes, salad greens, kale, spinach, and zucchini. Plus, I want to try to cook more with fresh herbs, so I'm very excited to kind of force myself to start incorporating herbs in my cooking. Like, why not? Speaking of cooking, I did have to go to the grocery store. So I am doing a pantry and freezer challenge for the month of February, and I was challenging myself to only spend $50 this month. No, couldn't do that. I showed you guys my last grocery haul, and I think I spent $43 to like stock up for this. I got a good amount of like potatoes and carrots and greens. I got kale, lettuce from the farm store, and the greens are still going strong. It's been 2 weeks now at least, but I showed you guys how I preserve those, and those are still perfectly crispy, which is kind of sad that they're even still around after a couple weeks. Like, why haven't I eaten those? I just haven't felt like eating much or cooking much. So, but I am going to share more like my cheap pantry meals with you guys. So those videos are coming. I apologize. I've been slow. I've just been, trying to listen to myself and take things slow. But I did have to go this past weekend. I wanted more greens to go with the lettuce. I wanted a cucumber and some tomatoes to make salads. So I did go to the farmer's market and the grocery store. And at the farmer's market, I grabbed another bundle of carrots and another bag of those Pinto Gold potatoes that I really loved. I think I spent $9 on those two items. Then I swung to the grocery store, got a cucumber, a pack of tomatoes, the ones that are grown in Maine that I love. Every other cherry or salad tomato in that aisle was grown in Mexico. But I got a good head of broccoli, a couple avocados, some croutons to go on those salads, and then a thing of locally made salsa, because I want to make some tacos this coming week, I think, out of some dried beans that I need to eat up or, can focus on eating. But altogether, I spent $17.67 in addition to the $43 I had spent already. So that's like $60 so far for my food bill for the month. Aside from like a couple snacks the other night when I went to a concert, that is okay with me. I do allow myself those exceptions, of course. It's going really well. And of course, someday I hope to not have to go to the grocery store at all and just like do dry bulk good shopping and save myself a bunch of money. So I'm trying to work towards, that's part of doing this freezer and pantry challenge, is really forcing myself to do that and eat up those foods, which I did not plan ahead very well on my rolled oats. I have like maybe 3 days left of rolled oats, so I could just go buy more, but I also really need to start eating up some of those steel cut oats I have in the pantry that I've been avoiding just because they take longer to cook because I'm so busy nowadays. But anyway, I do need to start eating those up. But that was all I really wanted to share, is just where my headspace has been at on this process of unemployment and how the interview went and like how I'm trying to approach jobs as they hopefully come to me as time goes here, and hopefully I'll get more interviews. I'm trying to just obviously take one at a time and trust my gut instinct, and really I'm trying to let myself be okay with not rushing this process and just waiting until I do find something that I feel like is much more aligned with me and the path that I want to take. And there's no point in taking a job that's, in my opinion, for me, myself, my situation and circumstances specifically, I don't feel like there's any reason to rush into a job just to take it, just to feel safe again. And this whole unemployment situation has made it very obvious that no W-2 job is perfectly safe. Like, it's just not. There are more and less safe job environments and roles and things like that, but ultimately you are not safe. So trying to keep that in mind, I'd rather just work for something that brings happiness than just a paycheck, but also I don't want to take just a low paying job if it's not even ultimately what's going to bring happiness. So I'm just trying to navigate this and stay positive and try not to let work culture bring me down and make me feel like crap for not having a job right now. I think that's not a healthy place to be in. But if you're there yourself, like, I get it, I understand 100%, just one day at a time, trying to love myself through this process. So thank you for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Your support during this time has been so wonderful and appreciated. So thank you guys so much. I will talk to you very soon.